What's good, YouTube? This is Boxingwave. Please, right away, subscribe to the channel. If you haven't subscribed already, hit the subscribe button. Also, like the video, comment on the video, and share the video if you could. We're doing a 2023 awards. I'm going to do a separate videos this year. And I'm going to talk a little bit going into 2024. So be on the lookout. I've dropped in a massive amount of videos on this. It took me a while to put this all together. So just be on the lookout, man. I'm working, man. I'm working. I've been dedicated. I'm trying to bust out as much content as I can. All right. So the first video here. All right. We're going to talk about upsets of the 2023 year in boxing. I have 5 fights for this one, not in any particular order. It's just 5 fights that most people thought it was going to go one way, but it went the other way. All right. So let's start out with the first fight. Is one of the first earliest fights of the year. It's going to be Liam Smith against Chris Eubank Jr. This fight was not a fight that anyone was really asking for. This fight occurred because Chris Eubank was supposed to fight Conor Benn in their fight, and because Conor Benn popped on a banned substance, that fight got canceled, and Chris Eubank was just looking for another opponent. He's fighting at 160, and Liam Smith agreed to fight him at 160. Yes, there are some people that thought Liam Smith would pull off the upset, but most people did not want this fight because they believed that Chris Eubank would just beat him, especially because Liam Smith was moving up to fight him. All right, so let's talk about this fight real quick. Basically, it lasted 4 rounds. Chris Eubank, working with Roy Jones, having that style. He's boxing early. He's winning the fight. It's pretty competitive, though. I think some people gave 2 rounds to Liam, 1 to Chris. I think most people gave 2 rounds to Chris, 1 to Liam. Whatever way you scored it, the 4th round happened. Chris Eubank was pretty much trapped in the corner, and Liam Smith just threw a vicious onslaught that actually hurt. There was an elbow in the mix of that little flurry that he threw that landed on Chris Eubank, so that might be part of the reason why he got knocked out. You got to remember, Chris Eubank has always been very durable. People question his boxing skills and all of that stuff. Maybe the certain fights that he took, but Liam Smith went on an onslaught, hurt Chris Eubank bad. He got back up, but he was badly hurt, and Liam Smith put him away in the 4th round. You got to understand, Chris Eubank has always been durable. Even with the fights that he's lost, he's always been a pretty durable fighter. But Liam Smith stopped him in 4th round. So we all know that they had a rematch, and Chris Eubank changed trainers, and he ended up getting him back on a rematch and stopping Liam Smith, right? But this fight here, to start off the year, was a crazy upset. It was. And, yeah, it is what it is. It forced Eubank to change trainer, change his style. Obviously, he's a lot better right now. But I'm working with Bomac. But yeah, this is one of the biggest upsets of the year. All right. Let me go to a second upset here. Yeah, now, this is not as big of a fight, but it was also early in the year. And there's a story about this fight, because this fight here, you got Royman Villa against Rashidi Ellis. Now, the reason why I picked this particular fight, because if you know, back at that time leading up to the fight and leading up, going into the press conference, Villa, if you go on his box rec, you can see that he had a loss, but his KO ratio was nearly perfect. All right. The statistics and, everything about like his size and everything didn't match what was put on box rec. Not only that, but Villa didn't have a lot of fights that was on YouTube. I noticed because I wanted to look the guy up, and he had very few videos on YouTube. So when the press conference happened, and this is the same presser that Jaron Ennis had the fight with Karen, Royman Villa came and ended up being a very big fighter. He was very tall. And you can see when they did the face-off, Rashidi Ellis was a lot smaller than Villa. And the thing is, even Rashidi Ellis said the same thing. He was like, I didn't expect him to be that tall when I faced off against him, because obviously I think the height that's on box record is like 5'8", but the height in person was like 6 foot. So Villa came out, very, very good fight. It's actually one of the better fights of the year. Rashidi Ellis outboxing him early, doing what he's doing. You know, he has that hand speed, good boxing. He's outboxing him in the earlier rounds, maybe like the first 4 or 5 rounds. He clearly won. Then out of nowhere, Villa, who looked very clumsy in the early, looked slow, he looked clumsy. He was getting counter. He was just getting outpointed. And Rashidi Ellis was beating him with his jab and his speed. Out of nowhere, Villa started boxing a lot better and started putting a lot of pressure on Rashidi Ellis. Ellis started getting knocked down maybe 2 or 3 times. I can't remember. But Villa right away wins the fight. It was a close decision win, but he won the fight, man, and he put himself on the radar. He eventually went on to fight Jaron Boots Ennis, who did stop him and dominated him. But Villa put his name on the map by beating Rashidi Ellis, and we know Ellis wasn't really that active. We know he had recently got with the PBC. But, I mean, talk about poor matchmaking for a guy that's just trying to get his rhythm back, trying to get back active. You know, he was with Golden Boy Promotions, left. You know, he's inactive over there. He left. He came with the PBC, but he went a good long period without fighting. And he got beat by Villa, and it was a big upset at the time. All right. The next fight would have to be Alexis Rocha against Santillan. All right. Another fighter that, you know, yes, certain fans knew of Santillan. I didn't. I did do some film study on him. And, you know, I did. Alexis Rocha's always been another fighter. Again, very durable fighter. Okay. We know he's lost to Ellis, but he's always been a durable fighter. A good boxer, a solid boxer, good pressure fighter. Picked up some solid wins throughout his career. And Santillan, this was his step up. You know, we know that there was a fight with Antonio DeMarco, which is one that I brought up when I was doing a little bit of film study I did on him, where he didn't look so good, especially because he was fighting a southpaw. So in that fight, he didn't look so good. But after the fight, I realized that he changed a lot of things after that fight, that performance he had, and he dominated Alexis Rocha, put the pressure on him, beat him, outboxed him, and just overpowered him and stopped him, which was another upset, man. Just wasn't surprised. Again, this was a major fight, but it was also an upset that a lot of us was not expecting. And not only was it an upset, but it was a dominating performance. Alexis Rocha, I didn't think that he was an elite welterweight, but I thought that he was, you know, roughly around maybe the top 10, on the end of the top 10. A good, solid opponent for anybody. But he got dominated by Santillan. And, you know, it is what it is. All right. So the fourth fight that I have here, as far as upset, and again, this is not in any particular order, but I'm ordering it. I guess I am ordering it based on how big the upset was. And I would have to say Zhilei Zhang against Joe Joyce, the first fight. Joyce was a huge favorite. I mean, Joyce was having some good wins. He's the first and only fighter to stop Joseph Parker. Okay, this is one of the most dangerous fighters. And at the time, people were considering him to be one of the top 5 heavyweights at the time because he was having a really good run. And at this time, Zhang, who only had one defeat against Filip Hrgovic, right? Very controversial. A lot of people to this day still tell me in the comments that they thought Zhang won the fight. Now, I know, you know, Hrgovic was coming off, you know, a little layoff. His father had passed away. And mentally and emotionally, he didn't seem like he was into the fight. But Zhang fought Joe Joyce. And for whatever reason, I threw a bunch of money in Zhang. I just felt like he being a big fighter, he being a better boxer, him having the power and the size, and he was a southpaw. I just chose that day randomly to dump a lot of money into that. And I made a lot of money with the KO. I think it was like something, I don't remember. I don't know if it was a plus 900 or something like that, but it was a big upset at the time. They went on to have a rematch where Zhang stopped him again in a more vicious way, a knockout. In the first fight, Joyce was just getting outboxed. He was getting punished. He was getting hurt multiple times. And then he had a big eye swelling. I think he had like a broken orbital bone or something like that. And then there was a point where the ref stepped in and stopped it. But the second fight, the rematch, which was more like on an even playing field as far as the odds, Joyce started a little better. You know, he was moving a lot more. He was being a little bit more tactical in a rematch. But in the first fight, that was a huge, huge upset. Yes, all of these fights, people called it. You know, people were in the comments, but the majority of people felt that these fighters were likely to lose. All right. And for the last one and the final one and the most recent one, Deontay Wilder losing to Joseph Parker. Not just losing, but most people got him getting swept in the fight. Wilder got hurt at some point. Wilder was doing all of this movement and it wasn't working out for him. But the thing about Wilder, he didn't make any kind of adjustments. It's like they had a game plan and they decided to stick with the game plan. And even though there were moments where Wilder started to become a little bit more aggressive and started throwing more right hands, he got caught with some good counters and it made him revert right back to circling the ring, which didn't work for him neither. And Joseph Parker just kept connecting with the big overhand rights. And on the inside, he was just too fast. He looked like prime Joseph Parker. His legs were really fast. His hands was really fast. And Wilder just didn't know how to do with it. Plus, you got to add on the ring rust, 2 years. We're only fighting one round. Joseph Parker been very active, fought a few times this year, even with the loss of Joe Joyce. Got back in great shape, and he did his thing. I personally gave Wilder 2 rounds, but even the 2 rounds that I gave him, they weren't really that competitive. You know, I guess maybe I gave it to him because it was more competitive than the others. But outside of that, Deontay Wilder lost to Joseph Parker. This was supposed to be the setup fight for Anthony Joshua. Joshua was on the same card, won his fight clearly, got his stoppage against Otto Wallin. And Deontay Wilder lost this one on the cards. Really, really wide, bad performance. And it was the biggest upset of the year, probably to most people. All right. So those are my 5 upsets. I'm sure there's more upsets out there, but these are the ones that came straight to my mind as soon as I started to work and figure out where I was going with this topic. Anyway, I got 6 more fights for 2023. 6 more videos on the way. So be on the lookout for that. All right. Again, subscribe to the channel, comment, like, let me know where your biggest upset was, and you know, just battle back. Whatever you guys have, leave it in the comments, man. Hit the thumbs up, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.